Hello and welcome at Naas and on the other hand, Deon. We've got quite a number of games to cover. We've got a couple of questions that we need to cover, and then we can now look forward to the end of the year tour. Welcome, Deon.
Thank you, Naas.
How are you?
No, good thanks and you.
Good. Interesting rugby over the weekend. Let's go. Box Argentina. Okay. The question we did talk about it last week. Was Twickenham a good idea to buy Argentina to go and play there instead of at home? Looking back at it now, I think they might actually look at the result at the end and feel that maybe we should have played in Argentina.
No, for sure. I think if they played in Buenos Aires, it would have made a massive difference. Because of the South African community in London, I think it felt like a home game to the Box. But I know there was obviously a lot of money involved to play at London. And but you have to distinguish: do you want to make money or do you want to win test matches? And I feel they would have had a much better chance if they played at home.
Yeah, but I didn't, to be honest, I never felt that Argentina was going to beat us on the day. The score at the end, 29-27. If you didn't watch the game, you might thought, more difficult than it was supposed to be for South Africa. I don't know. What was your feeling? Because, like I said, my feeling was they're not going to beat us.
No. I think after last weekend, I think the Box had enough confidence knowing that they're going to win this game. And yeah, if you look at the score and the possession that the Box had, they didn't have too much ball yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's why the result was also quite convincing for the Box. But yeah, once again, I feel they should have played that game at home.
Okay. Two guys we need to talk about. Okay. The one is Malcolm Marx. And there was a hooker that I always thought, people always talk about who's the best number two in the world throughout the years and whatever. And New Zealand will always, I think, talk about Sean Fitzpatrick. Australia will have their number twos, whatever. And I always thought Uli Schmid was an unbelievable player. He's one of those guys that he just could do anything and everything. And now looking at Marx, somebody asked me the other day, how do I rate Marx? And I hate rating players. Why must we do that? Just look at the quality he produces. But I must say the quality yesterday, winning the turnover of the ball on the ground, winning penalties for South Africa, he must be very close to one of the better number twos we ever had in this country's history.
No, for sure. And I think the fact that he's starting more games is a great thing for him. Because we've seen him coming off the bench for the last couple of years. And I think now that he's actually taken over that number two role, he's playing much better rugby because he's getting more game time as well. So you're getting more quality out of him, not seeing only 20, 30-minute stints of him. But yeah, yesterday was immense. In my opinion, he was the man of the match.
Yeah.
But I think Cobus Reinach got the man of the match. But Malcolm, like you said, he has to be one of the best hookers that we've seen.
Okay, the other name you already mentioned, Cobus. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. But it's also, I think, a little bit the same as with the situation Marx. He's starting now. It's like he knows there's a lot of confidence in him, and it just, you can see it on the field. It proves that if you put confidence in me as a player, the only way I can actually repay you is by playing well. And he had a fantastic game yesterday.
No, he did. And the thing is, the more you play, the better you're going to be. And I think that's one problem with the younger players these days as well. They're not getting enough game time. So they're sitting at big unions, but they're not getting out there and playing matches. So it's all good to say that you at the Sharks or the Stormers or whatever, but you're not getting game time. And I think we're actually seeing the quality of these guys that has been sitting on the bench for the last couple of years. And it just shows you, if you get that game time, get the exposure, you actually get more quality out of these players.
Yeah, I've mentioned for many years that a sportsman works on two aspects: confidence, and you play yourself in a group. Okay, and I think that's what we actually talking about. If you take a sport like golf, go and watch guys that never won a tournament. When they win that first one, they either win the next week or they get very close to it. And rugby is not different. Now, the question we have to look at then is the group structure makes it quite difficult for some players to get enough playing time. We know that, okay, because I believe any international coach would love to win every single game. So at the end, you're always going to select a side that can win you that game you're playing on the weekend. So that means there are quite a number of players, because of the group selection, that's not going to get enough playing time. They're not getting sent back to their unions to play in the URC, or in New Zealand, play in the NPC. I saw last week New Zealand, I think, allowed 12 players out of the group to go and play NPC. So how are we going to combat this whole thing of you getting enough playing time? Because the only way you can impress somebody is by playing, not by sitting on the bench.
And I think when me and you discussed something earlier, it comes back to this new rule of only 30 games per year that the player would be allowed to play. So now the question is it going to be 80 playing minutes or 30 games, whether you play 10 minutes or 15 minutes? Because now the other problem is, let's say you bench for 20 games, maybe you get 15 to 20 minutes game time, where you're going to play yourself into 4.
Yeah, no, you can't. No, you can't. You're actually just going on and hope to make an impact. But we'll talk a little bit later about the 30-game cap, because I think that's quite interesting. But the Boks, two things yesterday. Unbelievable scrumming. Unbelievable. Where we just, it's not every day where you see a pack just taking another pack. And Argentina has always been known for a great scrum, by just going over and just taking the ball away from them in their scrum. And then the other thing that I think we also need to look at is yesterday we went for the intercept quite a bit. I think Moody can actually be glad to be not having a second yellow, because that second one, it wasn't like he was trying to catch the ball with two hands. It was more the one hand thing. Now that actually is a card, and 2 yellows would have been a red card. Why do you think? Is it we felt that they're trying to play so flat that the option, and we did get one great intercept, is the option there to go for more?
I think with the rush defense, the option is there to go for the interception. But like you said now, I think Moody was lucky there, because your hand needs to be up, and it was definitely going down. But I think they also felt that maybe the first yellow card wasn't really necessary. So, because that would have meant you would have gotten a red card. So, yeah. But I think the fact that the option was there, and the thing is, the guys are playing with the deep passes as well. So the rush defense is closing in on the attack these days. And I think to just not give the other team an option of playing the ball wide, you have to maybe go for the interception. So, I don't know.
But do you think there's a little bit, because remember we spoke about it when we coach. You've got your first line, that's actually more the forwards. Then you've got a second line, that's more the back line. And then you've got the third line, that's more the blind side fullback scenario. Don't you think yesterday we actually got something right? Is to okay, the ball is not going down the forwards, so it is definitely going to the backs. That you can anticipate a little bit more going for the intercept, because That's what I felt. It was a little bit like we could read their attack a lot better yesterday than in the past, because if it's not going the first line, it's going the second line, then you can anticipate there's might be a gap at the end between, let's say, the fullback and the wing, and you can go for the intercept. Do you think that that sort of played a little bit of a part?
No, definitely. I think they read it quite well. And especially at the international stage these days, you're going to have certain options.
Yeah.
Because like we saw earlier, or maybe last year as well, the diamond-shaped form is also out of play at the moment. You're seeing that the guys are lining up with flat 4 players flat on the front line and then playing the back option. Because I think that's one thing as well. If you're playing the back option, you're closing in on the defense from the outside, closing the gate.
Yeah.
And that also allowed Moody and them going for the interception.
Yeah.
Because now, like you said, they're reading the situation, and now you might rush up
From the outside.
Yes, and you can anticipate, okay, we're not playing the front line, so let's go at the back. And then maybe if the box or whoever sees that, they know, okay, now we can close in, and that's why the interception is on.
Okay, and that's going to start forcing teams coming back to the forwards, what you actually want, because with our 3 loose forwards, our locks, and let's say the top 8, the 8 forwards, we can actually close them down when they come back in. And then they're not going to beat you on the outside, because, if you've got speedsters, you can be easily get around our outside player. But if you read the defense like they did yesterday, it's very difficult.
No, it is tough. But yeah, the set pieces were amazing yesterday. I think even with 7 men in the scrums, we demolished them.
Yeah.
And at some stage, the Argentinians did actually well because they fed the ball and they played it immediately because they knew they didn't have the dominance.
Yeah.
So you have to give them credit, but it also puts your attack under pressure because you're never gaining any meters. So your backline is under pressure because you know that all is coming out immediately.
Why you're talking or mentioning that is what I picked up yesterday is a couple of times the scrum actually wheeled. Okay. Then the number 8 picked up the ball very quickly and they played. And that meant that they were under pressure the whole time in the scrums. And it's very difficult then for a number 8 to get over the advantage line because he's going backwards. He must pick up the ball. Otherwise, it's a penalty against your scrum. So that actually forced you to play slightly different than you maybe worked out before the game.
No, for sure, because even your backline can't attack from the set piece then, because he's picking up. So there's a ruck that's being formed, and now you have to play from the ruck.
That's it.
So whatever call you had, you have to adapt now all of a sudden. It's forcing them to pick up all the time is actually amazing because you're taking their set piece attack completely up the game.
Okay, so by conclusion, we say not a surprise the box one. Last 15 minutes, maybe not the best 15 minutes for South Africa, but still at the end, the score is on the score.
Oh.
Okay, All Blacks Australia, 28-40. I never felt that Australia was going to win that one. We said it beforehand. Not trying to be anti-Australia, but Skelton, I thought did make a little bit a serious impact, but also another card cost him yesterday, and I didn't get the feeling throughout the 80 minutes. This is the game Australia is going to surprise us.
No, definitely. And once again, with all their injuries, they don't have the depth to compete week in and week out. So I think we saw that with the British Lions. They were competitive. The first game against the Springboks, they obviously beat them at Ellis Park, but that was their best 15 on the field. But like yesterday, playing a home game, you never got that feeling. And even with the All Blacks not having all the possession yesterday, and I feel Matthew Crawley actually blew the All Blacks out of the game, but once again at rut time, it was a massive problem in that game. once the ball went down, it just felt like he's blowing the All Blacks apart. But yeah, Australia, you never got the feeling that they'll beat the All Blacks yesterday.
See, the ball on the ground, we're going to keep talking. I don't think anybody is going to listen to us and change the law. But the ball on the ground is a major problem because yesterday, once or twice, he said, no, but you can't hold your own weight. Now, they always say it must feel like a plane taking off. That's your body, let's say your body position. But you can't win a ball standing like this. You've got to go over and try and pick the ball up. So if I just pull you on your jersey, you're going to fall over in any case. So it's extremely difficult. You're not allowed to, let's say, place your knees on the player to actually help you to stay up. So we have to look at changing the law to make it more, I want to say, or create an opportunity to make rugby a little bit more attractive, because the ball on the ground is actually killing the game at the moment. We've spoken about it. We're going to keep talking about it, but it is a problem.
And even when teams are going in to steal the ball, how many seconds do you have to steal the ball?
That's the ad.
Because now you're seeing someone going over, holding onto the ball, not getting the penalty. Then the next game, a guy goes down immediately, penalty one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it comes back to the inconsistency of the refs that you don't know who you're getting on the day, and you don't know what rule is going to be anticipated or what's going to get blown on the day. And but yeah, ruck time is still a massive problem, and we saw that yesterday, especially with the All Blacks Australia game. The All Blacks were hard done by with Corley.
But it's interesting that you mention it, the seconds, okay? Because sometimes you hear the ref saying you had an opportunity, but you've lost it. You've only lost it because somebody is hanging on to the ball, because you were actually winning the ball, and then the guy on the ground is hanging on to the ball. So that's actually a penalty. So that's the question that you've just put on the table. How many seconds? How many seconds? Okay. Now, while we're talking about laws, okay, even it's a bit try the other day. I saw Tapa Henning actually said it should have been a try, okay? Because if you rip a ball, a couple of years ago, if you rip the ball, they blew it as a knocker. Then luckily somebody decided, okay, if you rip the ball, I didn't knock it on, you ripped it, okay? Now, that try of Eben, the ball was kicked out of the hands of Quivers, okay? So it can't be a knock on. It should have stayed a try. And I see that Tapa actually came out and said, okay, it should have been a try. Now, how can we allow mistakes like that between the referee and the TMO? Because that can actually let you lose an international that you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and if you take yesterday's game with the All Blacks as well, when Hooper cleaned out Geordie Barrett, he came from the side. He's lucky that he didn't tore his ACL.
Yeah, you saw that.
But why does the TMO go and look at the same clip 10 times in a row if you've already seen what has happened? And like last week with Evans' try, the try should have stand.
Yeah.
The guy was from an offside position as well, and he kicked the ball out of Quivers' hand. So it's not a knock on, it's play on. But why, with the technology that they have, do they still make those wrong decisions?
But Deon, mentioning what happened to Geordie yesterday, for me, and I'm serious, for me it's just a straight red card. You can't isolate the tackle in such a manner that you can actually, I want to say, hurt the player. He's out for months, and you may be out for 2 or 3 weeks, and you keep on playing, because that you can't allow that in rugby. And that's the thing that surprised me sometimes. If you get teams or players, just play according to the law. That's against the law. That's outside the law. Then you must know there's going to be consequences. But that should have actually been a red.
But I think if Geordie had to go off, they would have given him the red.
Okay, but keep there. I like the attitude, but it's not according to the law. You see, I'm a little bit more aggressive on the call because if I punch you, okay, do you have to be knocked out before I get sent off, or do I just get a card because I punched you? In my book, is when I punch you, that's it. You game. So, do you think we need to be a little bit harsher on decisions like that?
No, they have to. And that's why I say if Geordie had to go off, I feel Hooper would have gotten a red. Absolute. But because he stayed on, luckily he didn't get injured in that situation. That would have been a season ender for him.
Absolutely.
Maybe the refs felt, okay, it's maybe not that dangerous. But once again, the inconsistencies of refs blowing certain situations, the 1 week, next weekend, that would have been a week.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's between the TMO and the ref. So it's two guys making a mistake there. Okay. And I think the TMO should be in a situation like that. Sometimes I feel they're getting involved too often. Sometimes I feel they not strong enough on making a call like that, where they should have said, okay, sorry, that's a red card.
Yeah, and you can't look at that clip 10 times in a row. I mean,
You can see it.
even from the outside, your supporters, everybody's seeing it. So what are they actually looking at? Or did they want to determine, is this a yellow or a red?
Yeah, but you can see it in 2 clips. You don't need to watch 10 clips. Okay. Looking back at the championship, okay, Rugby Championship, South Africa definitely, I think, turned out to be the better team out of the 4. I think the All Blacks got better. They're still not great. Okay, we're going to talk about the end of year tour. Argentina, I think they shot themselves in the foot sometimes with the way, like last week, with the scrum of not really turning up. And then Australia, as you mentioned on a number of occasions with the injuries, they're always going to be a little bit on the back foot. So I think it actually turned out, and what an achievement by South Africa, winning it 2 years in a row.
No, for sure. I think the Boks were definitely the best team in the championship. But also, the nice thing about this year was that it was the closest championship that we've had. So it was nice seeing all 4 teams being competitive.
Yeah.
But I think the Boks depth and their class just shown and well-deserved winners.
Okay. Quickly on the URC, because we'll get into URC when there's no internationals. I thought the Stormers on Friday night, they were absolutely superb. I must say, I was a little bit surprised by the Ospreys. I thought they really played well, but a good one for them there. Um, I'll get your opinion now. The Bulls against Leinster. Leinster a lot better yesterday. Really. If you take their first game and second game, I thought that was a good one. Okay, Munster over Cardiff. Benetton beating Glasgow
With a drop goal.
oh, with the drop goal because we had a nice power outage. So I'm glad you watched that. Oh, it's a drop goal.
Drop goal, Munster as well. They also won with a drop goal.
Oh, good. Okay, so
Nice
drop
winning.
goal is back,
Yeah.
back in fashion. Okay, and then 2 games postponed.
Yeah. Apparently there's some storm in Ireland or the UK.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're even going to play today. So they might have to schedule that for another open weekend. I'm not sure.
Because it's a long time we had actually guys postponed because of weather. And I saw something about flights and that. Okay, let's talk about end of year. Okay. Box got Japan, France, Italy, Ireland, and Wales. 5 games.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough journey, but I think with the squad depth that the Boks have at the moment, it won't be a difficult tour. I think the France game is going to be amazing. I think they still have flashbacks of the World Cup that they felt they should have won that game. So that's going to be a massive test, and obviously Ireland. But I think Japan will see a total different team that played yesterday. I think Rassi will throw in the other guys that's sitting on the fringe or guys coming back like Curti Arendse and all those guys. Italy won't be a problem. So I think the two games that they will target is France and Ireland.
Okay, let's hope Wales actually get something sorted. But I must say, looking at the URC teams, it looks a little bit better. But I must also say a couple of foreigners are actually assisting there a little bit. Okay, then the All Blacks. They've got the Grand Slam. And that's not really that you get an opportunity that often lately to have a Grand Slam. Do you think after losing 43-10 against South Africa, do you, because I wanted to bring it in a little bit earlier and then I thought, okay, I'll bring it in now. Do you think they really have the confidence, or did we knock their confidence a little bit out of them to go to Europe and come away unbeaten, winning a Grand Slam? Because there's not a lot of teams that actually win Grand Slams.
I think it was a good wake-up call for them. And obviously coming out against Australia 2 times, beating them yesterday in the rain, quite convincing without having too much possession. And I think for Scott Robertson and his whole coaching staff, winning the Grand Slam will actually mean a lot to them.
Yeah.
Obviously starting off against Ireland in Chicago, I think it's better playing them in the US than playing in Dublin. So I think if they can have a good start against Ireland, they might have a chance. But I think England is going to be a good team at this interview tour. They're going to be tough. Scotland, yeah.
They're always tough at Murrayfield. Doesn't matter how you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it with the British Lions. They had a couple of players there.
Yeah.
But I think the All Blacks will be good enough to beat them, Wales. So the England and Ireland game is going to be the 2 ones that they have to win. But it will mean a lot. Robertson will make a statement if he wins this Grand Slam.
Yeah.
And I think it's the ideal opportunity now just to get the media off his back as well, because he's taken a lot of flack. But yeah, they also need to have all their players available, because they're sitting in the same situation than the Aussies at the moment. They don't have the squad depth that the Boks have. And I think that is also the massive advantage that the Springboks will have at the interview tour. Playing 5 games, Rassie knowing that he's got 40, 50 players to pick from.
Yeah, and it's only an overnight flight if you really need somebody. So it makes life a lot easier. No, for sure. Okay, then, we spoke about at Tolly, actually asked about Eben Stry. We did talk about that. Okay, and then Sven Erik Golden talking about cross kicks. He feels sometimes the wing on the outside might be a little bit more in front of the ball or in front of the kicker. But I think that the assistant referees, as like we called them in the old days, touch judges, I think they make sure to check, because sometimes on a replay you can't really see if he's in front or not. So I think the assistant referees help quite a bit. So 99% you can actually call it a fair try.
Yeah, I think more of a concern is from the kickoffs, where the guys are in front of the ball. Yesterday, when the All Blacks got the penalty to go 29 ahead, from that kickoff, the player from Australia was at least 5 meters in front of the kicker. But then they lost the kickoff and Australia went and scored.
They scored, yeah.
Now it's 2014 again.
Yeah.
So I think from kickoffs, the touch judges should be more aware than looking at the cross kicks. But the cross kicks is also happening much more now because of the rush defense. Because they're closing in, the outside space is open, so you have to expose that.
Okay. 2 other things. Rugby 360 is getting knocked back by the day. I saw yesterday an article saying whoever signs with them will not be allowed to World Rugby to play in internationals. So that is a little bit like a tough one. It's a little bit like Live Golf and PGA. Okay, they're allowed on the DB Tour, we know that. But I think guys need to be very, very careful. You know, are you going to go for bucks or are you going to play internationals? And I think at the end, rugby has just got this whole aura around them. You want to play for your country, isn't it? You want to play in World Cups. Now, to go that route, That means you're not going to play in any World Cup if you're good enough.
I think that's something that the IPL also took away. I think a lot of cricketers these days plays to get an IPL contract, instead of playing for South Africa. But yeah, money talks, and it's going to be interesting to see who signs for that league. I think if you a little bit older in your career or whatever, you might go that route just to close out.
Like a pension.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but still, if you're good enough, I'm a great believer. You're never too young, and you're never too old. Okay, so as you mentioned, some guys might see it as a pension, but then they're not going to get the crowds they might anticipate they will get, because you don't really want to have a barbarian scenario game. You want I want to say you want to support somebody. It's like us. We're supporting the Springboks. Okay, we're supporting the All Blacks. For argument's sake, we're not supporting too many other teams. Okay, um, that's the way we feel about it. So if there's just 15 guys on the field, who are you going to really support it yet?
Yeah, and I think that is Major League Rugby's problem in the US at the moment as well. They're not familiar with the teams, so who do you support? Because once the Major League started, there was San Diego, California, but nobody knew who's playing and who actually to support. So now you sign that league, so how are you going to create revenue coming from the spectator side?
That's it.
And that is going to be a concern. But obviously, they got some investors involved there that can support the whole structure. But it's going to be interesting who signs and who doesn't.
Okay, the 30 match cap per player. I'm absolutely in agreement with you. There is, you must take 30 games times 80 or 90 minutes. That's the amount of minutes the guy can spend on the field. Let's say I'm a second stringer and I'm on the bench and I get selected in the squad of 23. But as you mentioned earlier, you play 15 minutes, 20 minutes per game. Then it's like that. By June, I'm going to be through my 30 games, because if URC internationals, Investor Cup a year, I can be on the bench for 30 games and then suddenly I didn't play a minute. So it's got to be about minutes. I think World Rugby needs to actually clarify how much time you spend on the field.
No, for sure. They're going to have to clarify that, because 30 times 80 minutes makes a massive difference to someone that might only play 10 or 15 minutes a game. And you get the unfortunate situation that certain players only play 15 or 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So they'll have to distinguish between playing minutes and games. Because at this stage, I mean, you can't say to a guy, you're only allowed to play 30 games, but you only play 10 or 15 minutes a match. That's not fair. So, yeah, they're going to have to get clarity on that.
So it's definitely, we say it can't be on selection, because if you select me for so many games, but I hardly play, so that can't count as a game.
No, for sure. So, yeah, and the other thing is as well, now you're signing a big player. He's playing maybe 12 or 14 test matches. So he's only available for 16 matches for his union or club or whatever. So the clarity is going to need to come, because how are you going to manage that? Because if you can't have your top players playing for your union or your club,
What paying them?
exactly.
There's been getting back to the argument. Why don't we just go international rugby and get franchises? There you at least, if you take the top 12, you've got at least 22 games. And then you've got 8 games for warm-up. So that's your 30 games. But at least we will have strong franchises. Where now you've got URC, you've got Investor Cup, then you've got internationals. And it looks like internationals is going to run about 10 per annum. So you've got 20 games left. Now, if I have a top fly off, scrum off, number 8 how do I utilize him in URC to make sure he has the impact I want him to have? Because you've got to try and win the Investor Cup. How many games does you Investor Cup? That's about 7, isn't it?
Yeah, to win it.
Okay. So that's 7. Okay. I need my best team to win that. Let's be fair. Then URC is about 70, I think.
Yeah. You've got your 15 pool games and then quarters, so playing 18 games.
Okay, that's 25. That's 25. Then you can only play 5 internationals. But if you count 10 internationals, that takes you to 35. That's why it's going to be very interesting to see how the coaches are actually going to manage this. But there needs to be extremely clarity on, is it the time you spend on the field or in selection? Because if it's selection, we're going to see some players having a career now of 30 years because they're going to play like, what, 3 games per season? Then they can hang around till they're 50, isn't it?
No, that's the unfortunate part. So they're going to have to distinguish and clarify how that's going to work. I think Johan Ackerman also said earlier this week, the unions are going to have to align with SA Rugby. But it's not only them, it's a world rugby thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think we spoke about it last week. You want to see your best players playing for your club, playing for the union, and that's going to draw the crowds. Yesterday, Bulls, Leinster, that should be a sellout.
Or at least 40,000. At least 40,000.
That was your finalist last year, and I think there wasn't even 5,000 people yesterday. You want to fill the stadiums with those kind of matches because that's the best that you're going to get. But now Leinster doesn't send their best team, and unfortunately for the Sharks, all the Irish players are waiting for them.
Okay, we're finishing up. I'm going to give you a nice way to look at it. Okay. Quick response on that one. You look at the World Cup Women's Final, 82,000 people. Okay. International rugby. 82,000 international rugby we talk about. You go to, and I watch quite a bit to get a good feel. You watch some, and Sky New Zealand actually showing quite a number of women rugby games. You get maybe 200, 300 spectators at a provincial game. You see where we're going. Is rugby going to turn out at the end to make that strong call and say, okay, boys, if we want people filling the stadiums day in and day out, we need to seriously look at working from the top down instead of from the bottom up.
100%. And I think next year with the All Blacks touring to South Africa, you're going to see the Bulls playing the All Blacks, the Stormers playing the All Blacks. That's going to fill the stadium.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned it. You're going to have to restructure the whole thing to get more people involved because you can't open a stadium for 500 people.
No. Okay. That's me and Deon for this week.